I'll go ahead to read my address, but not without first and foremost apologizing to all of you for starting this meeting late, almost an hour or more behind schedule. We apologize. We had to put some things together so as to enable you immediately after the press conference proceed with a record or a document that has been given to us. I mean, a document encapsulating what has been said here for you to go on with your work. On behalf of the National Executive Committee of the Nigerian Bar Association, I welcome you all to this event, the State of the Nation Address. This event has become a tradition in the activity schedule of the Nigerian Bar Association, where we seek to constructively identify the salient challenges affecting our country and provide practical ideas and solutions. Indeed, by the nature of our calling, we are uniquely positioned to analyze the problems devoid of emotions with a view to arriving at tangible solutions that work in the interest of all. We firmly believe that the legal profession has an important role to play in giving direction for the socio-economic and political future of our country. I am making this address at a time which we all know is a difficult and watershed moment for our country. The NBA has, since the inception of the Tinubu administration, sought to engage government on three main areas: security, economy, and administration of justice. Indeed, even before the general elections of 2023, that ushered in the administration, we engaged all the registered political parties on these issues at the event we organized as the State of the Nation dialogue. We had the foresight to know that the assessment of the incoming administration would be based on how it is able to deal with these issues in the immediate term. You may also recall that these were the sub-themes of our 2023 Annual General Conference held last year in Abuja, themed Getting It Right, Charting the Course for Nigeria's Nation Building. We have since taken steps to publish the outcome of that conference, specifically its recommendations for the consideration of the present administration. This State of the Nation address will again focus on these three main areas. To put it mildly, it is our respectful view that progress has been slow in taking forward the myriad of recommendations put forward by the NBA on security. Across its length and breadth, our country is bedeviled with challenges of insecurity in alarming proportions. From the ravaging activities of bandits and terrorists to the scourge of kidnapping of ransom and other forms of criminal activities, bloodshed have become a daily occurrence. The news of these dastardly incidents pervades the airwaves and psyche of Nigerians, sending shock and instilling fear in the populace. These criminal activities have left many Nigerians homeless, many families and businesses completely destroyed, and rather than abate, these incidents are clearly on the rise. From the kidnap of pupils and their teachers in Ekiti State, to the continued onslaught on the people in the northwestern states, the killings and massacres in Plateau, Benue, Kogi, Kwara, the destruction of electricity infrastructure in Bauchi, the murders in Anambra, Imo, Enugu, and other parts of the country, not excepting the Federal Capital Territory, the seat of the government of the Federation. There is literally no part of the country that is not enmeshed in one form of insecurity challenge or the other. What makes the entire situation even more disturbing is the increasing boldness of the perpetrators. Security personnel who have the responsibility of securing the lives and properties of Nigerians have apparently been unable to effectively stem the spread of the violent crimes across the country. What used to be at the fringes of the country, bad as it was, has now taken the center stage. The entire country is under siege by terrorists, bandits, and criminal gangs. It is no longer easily determinable, if not impossible, which square kilometer of the Nigerian territory is under the authority or control of the federal government of Nigeria. A situation where criminality dots all over the space known as the Nigerian territory in a manner that diminishes the presence of law enforcement agencies, directly challenges the sovereignty of Nigeria. Some Nigerians have lost, and many more are fast losing confidence in the ability of the federal government to deal with the security situation in Nigeria. At this time, when public confidence in the sincerity of government in dealing with insecurity is at its lowest ebb, something radical must be done as a matter of emergency. In his inaugural address on 29 May 2023, His Excellency President Tinubu clearly assured Nigerians that security will be top priority of his administration. In the President's words, and I quote, "Security shall be the top priority of our administration because neither prosperity nor justice can prevail amidst insecurity and violence. To effectively tackle this menace, we shall reform both our security doctrine and its architecture. We shall invest more in our security personnel, and this means more than an increase in number. We shall provide better training, equipment, pay, and firepower." End of quote. I call on President Bola Tinubu, GCON, to waste no time and spare no effort in this regard. President Bola Tinubu must show demonstrable commitment to prioritize the security of the lives and properties of Nigerians, as already committed by him. Government, through our armed forces and other security agencies, must ensure that no square inch of the Nigerian territory is left ungoverned. No part of Nigeria should be left under the control of criminal elements, by whatever name so-called. We strongly recommend the following immediate to long-term intervention. First, it is important that deliberate efforts are made at all tiers of government to inform and engage Nigerians about what is being done as security protocol may allow to secure the nation, whilst ultimately the responsibility to secure lives and properties rests with government. It is now necessary that citizens are empowered to play a supportive role in this regard. Deliberate efforts should be undertaken to break down the suspicion that prevents citizens from reporting activities of criminal elements. Citizens' trust in the ability of security agencies to handle information of this nature is a crucial component in the fight against all forms of criminality. Secondly, we are concerned about the increasing civilianization of the Nigerian armed forces across the 36 states of the Federation and the FCT. Military battalions and detachments are deployed to deal with what should normally be the mandate of the Nigerian police. However desirable this is, it is our view that this state of affairs detracts and distracts the Nigerian military from its traditional role and further weakens the Nigerian police. This military intervention, as we have seen over the years, is not sustainable. There is no substitute for embarking on far-reaching reforms of the Nigerian police that will elevate it to an effective and efficient institution capable of enhancing the sense of security of Nigerians. It is obvious that the Nigerian police in its present form cannot deliver on its mandate. It is our view that the delay in commencing fundamental reforms in the Nigerian police is a contributory factor to our nation's current state of insecurity. We call on the administration to stop paying lip service to police reform and begin a meticulous reform of the Nigerian police. Thirdly, the federal government must adopt a holistic approach to the issue of security while not overlooking the peculiarities of each region and design bespoke measures to deal with them accordingly. In this wise, the government must neither be scared nor be ashamed to make the right investments in security in line with global trends in security without compromising our sovereignty. Specifically, government must make deliberate investment in security of such a scale and magnitude that will leave Nigerians in no doubt as to its sincerity. Beyond getting the right tools and equipment, the welfare of security personnel must be reviewed to improve the lot of officers and men of the armed forces and other security personnel in and out of service. Finally, in order to focus the nation's attention on the issue of insecurity and to ensure that all resources at our disposal are put in place to deal decisively with this issue, we call on President Tinubu to declare a state of emergency in the area of security. As rightly noted by Mr. President himself, neither prosperity nor justice can prevail amidst insecurity and violence. On the administration of justice, in a lecture titled Dissenting Judgments and Judicial Lawmaking, in honor of Honorable Justice Adolphus Godwin Karibi White, Justice of the Supreme Court of Blessed Memory, at the Nigerian Institute of Advanced Legal Studies, His Lordship Honorable Justice Gio Oguntade had noted that a judicial system thrives when, by its judgment, it instills confidence in the larger society that it is fair, impartial, and corruption-free in the adjudicatory process. A judiciary that is weak, corrupt, and unreflective of the people's aspiration is irrelevant to the people and doomed to collapse with time. I dare say with all sense of responsibility that where the judiciary collapses, the nation will plunge into anarchy. The security and existence of any nation is intricately connected to the presence or absence of justice, as may be dictated by the judiciary. The work or function of the judiciary is no less a security assignment than the work of the military, security and other law enforcement agencies in protecting the territorial integrity of Nigeria and ensuring the observance of law and order in the society. We have severally, since the beginning of my administration, made calls for the reform of the justice sector. While this remains our call on government, I must state that the negative perception about the judiciary is an issue that must be dealt with decisively by all members of the legal profession, particularly the judiciary itself. I therefore make this call on the judiciary, as I have done previously and will continue to do, to constantly bear in mind that we all have been called to dispense justice to the people for the effective functioning of the society. In doing this, members of the bench must not only serve justice, but must ensure that justice is seen to have been served. Beyond dispensing justice, judicial officers are under an additional duty to persuade or convince the public for whom justice is served that indeed justice has been served in any given situation. This is impossible to achieve when public confidence in the judiciary has waned. Therefore, in performing this all-important function, judicial officers must be careful to observe the regulations and code of ethics for judicial officers. This is what ensures that the public always perceive the bench as being just and fair and makes their decisions more readily acceptable to the people as justice. Judicial officers must take their oath and judicial code of conduct seriously. They must avoid actions and omissions that will give the appearance of compromise. Like Caesar's wife, judicial officers must be above suspicion. They must live above reproach. Proven cases of judicial misconduct must be dealt with decisively. I'm aware that petitions have been written to the National Judicial Council alleging one form of misconduct or the other against some judicial officers, particularly in election-related matters. These cases must be thoroughly investigated, and any judicial officer found to have compromised his oath of office must not be allowed to continue to serve on the bench and should be made to face the wrath of the law. This is the way to begin building back confidence in the judiciary. Persons who make allegations of compromise against judicial officers must be called to substantiate on their allegations. Otherwise, spurious allegations will be allowed to gain root in the minds of members of the public, be taken as true, and will keep eroding the confidence in the judiciary. No one should be allowed to castigate and denigrate the institution of the judiciary by making unfounded and unsubstantiated allegations. Action must be taken to stem the practice where castigating the decisions of the courts by legal practitioners and members of the public on electronic and social media platforms seem to have become the order of the day. We must return to the practice of scholastic examination of the judgments of the courts, and through this guide the courts and the public. We must also, in cases of any alleged compromise, be bold and courageous enough to engage the relevant authorities with proof of any such allegation and insist on the discipline of the judicial officer. Mere, bare, general, and unfounded allegations only hurt the polity, with the grave consequence of destroying the nation, because the people have lost confidence in the judiciary. It will result to self-help and chaos to the detriment of the entire country. Spurious and sweeping allegations of compromise against the judiciary is no less damaging than the compromise by any judicial officer. Neither is good for the survival of the country and must be exterminated. On current developments within the justice sector, we welcome the commitment of the federal government to the improvement of the conditions of service of judicial officers. We are pleased to note that the NBA recommendations for the upward review of the judicial salaries and allowances are being considered for implementation. We want to specifically commend the Honorable Attorney General of the Federation for his leadership role in this regard. The appropriation of 341 billion, 625 million, 739,236 naira for the judiciary is a development that has never happened in the history of Nigeria. We look forward to the urgent implementation of the proposed review. I must also at this point request Mr. President to immediately swear in the 11 justices of the Supreme Court that have been appointed to sit on the bench of the apex court of this country. That would help, and it will go in a long way in reducing the workload on the already overburdened court and the few personnel that sit in that court at the moment. We note the limited progress that has been made concerning the reports of many investigative panels set up by the federal and state governments in the aftermath of NSAS protests. It would appear that the present posture of the federal government is to close the chapter of this tragic occurrence in the history of Nigeria in the hope that it will not happen again. We are particularly concerned that the issues that led to the protest are very much a visible aspect of policing in Nigeria. There is still considerable citizens' unhappiness with the system of inquiring into complaints against the police. Investigation of police officers by their own officers is widely regarded as unjust and does not inspire confidence in the public. No police accountability mechanism can be considered fair if it fails to inspire public confidence. The trend all over the world is to set up complaint mechanisms under the law by establishing accountability structures which work openly, quickly, effectively, impartially, and invest them with resources and authority to guarantee independent and fair investigations into public complaints against police. It is for this reason that we have on several occasions urged President Tinubu to appoint an independent police ombudsman with strong authority to receive complaints from the public on matters of alleged police corruption, including delay in investigation of crimes, abuse of power, and extrajudicial killings. We are of the firm view that the multiple and many times overlapping institutions at the federal and state levels, the need for consensus on the importance of the justice sector, and the necessity of shared appreciation and joint action in responding to emerging crime and security concerns, and the adoption of practical steps going forward require strong leadership and commitment from the President and state governors. This is why we are again using this opportunity to call on the federal government to publish a clear national policy on justice sector reforms, setting out the official vision of the reform objectives and committing government to specific reforms necessary to realize that vision. This is an important reference point for any strategic approach to justice sector reform. On the economy, it is said that Nigeria has the largest economy in Africa. There is an expanding market in all economic sectors, including manufacturing, financial, communications, technology, and service and entertainment sectors. Our reality today tells a different story. Our economy is dwindling, the naira is on a free fall, prices of food stuff have skyrocketed, our future economic outlook seems to be on the negative trend. Inconsistent economic policies have largely led to weakened economic fundamentals, including sluggish economic growth. The direct result of this is the low standard of living, alarming rate of poverty, high unemployment rate, and the wide disparity in the socio-economic status of the Nigerian population. It would not be surprising, given this current reality, if the number of Nigerians living in extreme poverty has increased. The state of insecurity has equally impacted negatively on food sufficiency and food security as a nation. Those who rely on farming as their sole means of livelihood have been thrown into abject poverty because they no longer can go to their farms. While this administration may argue that it is only 7 months into office and it is not the cause of present-day experience, the fact remains that it is this government that has the responsibility of stemming this negative tide. As a government that prides itself with the credentials of Mr. President, who revolutionized and transformed the economic fortunes of Lagos State, which is not in doubt, and other eggheads who have excelled in economic experts, it would be disappointing and embarrassingly so if this administration did not anticipate this situation as a fallout of the previous administrations and made provisions for how to exit this economic quagmire. Nigerians need to know, as we are all entitled to, in concrete terms, the plans this administration has to bring about the changes that will revamp our economy. It is the engagement with government that educates and informs Nigerians of the strategies for the recovery of our economy that will give Nigerians the hope to continue to persevere and remain resilient as we have always been. Not to do so will cause a complete loss of confidence in the ability of this administration to truly deliver on the renewed hope agenda, and would be recorded as a monumental failure on the part of government. President Tinubu must take seriously the cries of, in quotes, "we are hungry," of Nigerians across ethnic and religious lines. Going forward, we recommend that the government must, as a matter of urgency, announce deadlines for specific fundamental economic steps to be taken towards economic recovery. This will enable all stakeholders to assess the performance of government in regard promises it has made and become a basis to hold government accountable to the people. Secondly, the Tinubu administration must show demonstrably a commitment to diversification of the economy. There is so much talk by ministers on what the government wants to do in the areas of agriculture and solid minerals. It is time to back up talking with concrete deliverables. Thirdly, we need to deal with our security challenges. As earlier stated, we simply cannot dream of economic growth amidst rampant insecurity. Economic activities nationwide are presently grinding to a halt because of the threats of bandits, terrorists, and criminals. The UK-Nigeria Enhanced Trade Investment Partnership Agreement. In conclusion, I cannot end this State of the Nation address without speaking about a matter that is at the heart of the livelihood of lawyers and millions of their dependents. Yesterday, the federal government of Nigeria and the government of the United Kingdom signed the Enhanced Trade Investment Partnership Agreement. The agreement covers a number of economic sectors, including legal services. The initial statement from the Office of the Honorable Minister of Investment, Trade and Industries stated that the agreement will allow lawyers licensed in the United Kingdom to practice in Nigeria. We note the Honorable Minister's recent comment that this was a statement made in error. Irrespective of the Minister's attempt at clarifying this statement, we want to state clearly that the objection of the NBA to the said agreement persists. The NBA has been involved in a number of meetings where the idea of allowing UK licensed lawyers in our legal space was discussed. We are therefore very clear about the intention of this agreement. We understand clearly what these agreements are meant to serve. In all these meetings, we unequivocally said that the state of the Nigerian economy presently does not allow for such agreement. In particular, the NBA is saddled with the responsibility of creating opportunities not only for its more than 200,000 lawyers currently practicing across the country, but also more than 4,000 new wigs that are called to the bar yearly. Only yesterday, the Council of Legal Education approved the result of the last bar final examination with over 4,000 lawyers due to be admitted to the bar in March of this year. It is very sad that while the UK government is creating opportunities for its lawyers outside the United Kingdom, the government of Nigeria, by its action or omission, seeks to shrink the legal space for an already burdened legal practice. What efforts has the government of Nigeria made to ensure that Nigerian lawyers have access to the UK legal environment? What is even more tragic is that the agreement was entered into without engaging the NBA on the text of the agreement. This is a clear indication of the limited recognition the government of Nigeria attaches to its professional bodies. We are certain that the UK government will not treat its Law Society and Bar Council in such despicable manner. For avoidance of doubt, let me say clearly that the NBA rejects the agreement insofar as it relates to legal services. We fully intend to seek judicial review of the agreements, including up to the Supreme Court, if necessary. This is the same situation as with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. While we must accept the reality of globalization and open our borders for transnational trade and exchange of services, this must be done strategically, purposefully, without endangering the already exposed and weakened Nigerian market. We therefore request for a holistic review of all the agreements under the Enhanced Treaty and the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, particularly in view of the developments in the ECOWAS sub-region. In addition, we have begun the process of mobilizing our members for a possible nationwide public demonstration in objection to this agreement. I want to thank you all for honoring us with your presence at this event. In addition to this press statement, I have also written a letter, it's a detailed letter to Mr. President Asiwaju Bola Tinubu, GCFR, titled State of the Nation, where we articulated what we have observed as happening in this country that are completely unacceptable in the areas of security, economy, and administration of justice. That letter has been delivered to Mr. President. God Almighty has made it to happen on a day that we are celebrating the expression of love from amongst ourselves. And I consider this as a love letter that we have sent to Mr. President. You know, the scripture mandates us to not only pray for all men and for those in authority, but we should speak truth in love. And there is no better day to speak truth to Mr. President in love than today, the 14th of February, 2024. I would make copies of these letters available to you, and you are free to make comments, and you can subsequently, if you have questions or clarifications that you require on that letter, you are free to send your questions to us, and we'll be more than happy to respond to these questions. I thank you. The position of the NBA is that the judiciary is under obligation to lay its books open for auditors and for what they do with the funds allocated to them made known to the public. Nothing should be shrouded in secrecy. But I also know as a fact that the Office of the Auditor General has officials that are posted to these judicial institutions. So I am wondering, is it that those that are sent there are not doing their work? Otherwise, how come they are not able to pass the information about what is done in the institutions under the judiciary that they've been sent to work back to the Auditor General, so that all of the things that the judiciary does would be made public, and then everybody will be able to see what the judiciary does with the funds allocated to it. And of course, we are committed to ensuring that there is transparency in everything that the judiciary does. It is part of the things that the judiciary has to do in order to elicit the necessary confidence of the public. Otherwise, whatever the judiciary would do, if the public does not have confidence in the judiciary, the product of what it does will not be accepted. So that is our position, and I believe that even the heads of court are not averse to that. They appreciate the need for what they do with the funds allocated to them be made public, and there shouldn't be any secrecy in that respect. So it's either one or two things. Either the judiciary is not doing it, or the Auditor General's office is also, and if that is the case, then it means that the Auditor General's office is also failing in its responsibility, because if I have a staff deployed in a place, I expect him, and he audits the accounts on a periodic basis. Where is the result of that audit? And if there are audit queries, it is for that officer to also accordingly report to his principal, the Auditor General of the Federation. If you read the letter that I wrote to the President, and a copy has been made available to you, it is something that we have addressed. The members of the NBA are not exempted or excepted from the issue of kidnapping. We had a situation where a colleague of ours, the entire family was kidnapped. He lost his 13-year-old daughter in the process, and a ransom had to be paid for the family to be released. We also had an instance where in Nnewi, where one of our members who had been kidnapped, and while we are doing what we had to do, to intervene in that respect, we suddenly got news that he's been murdered. I mean, it's everywhere. A colleague also was kidnapped in Kefi. I'm talking about the recent incidents. Kidnapped in Kefi and also had to pay a ransom to be released. The Nigerian Bar Association is concerned not only for the lawyers that are involved, but for every single life in this country that is exposed to this criminal menace, that has gained ground and maybe acceptance, like you said, and has become a business, a money-making venture. It is unfortunate that government, even though we hear that there are traces of those who are involved in perpetrating these dastardly acts, but nothing is being done against them. And I made the point in my letter to the President that if security agents that are given the constitutional and statutory responsibility of protecting the lives and properties of Nigerians are found complicit through acts or omissions that, number one, compromises the territorial integrity of this country, or in a way aids and abets the activities of terrorists and bandits, such a person should be treated as a treasonable felon, because to conspire or omit to do what you are statutorily truly instructed or assigned to do, that allows any bandit or any group of terrorists to take control of any square inch in this country, it is an action that should be treated as treason and should be so treated and should be so dealt with. And situations where you find security officials and possibly military men that are sent on operations and all of a sudden their lifestyle has changed, I mean, we need to ask questions. They file or they submit to the code of conduct the list and details of their assets at every point in time during the course of their service. How come they suddenly plunge into affluence, either when they are retired or shortly before they are retired, only because they have gone to participate in one activity or the other, which is supposed to help in bringing sanity to the country? And I said to Mr. President, we should be on a lookout for people like that, who are interested in continuing to feed on the woes of their fellow countrymen. That is why this issue of insecurity may not come to an end, because there are people that are feeding on it. And so I called on Mr. President, if he has given that commitment, and I take Mr. President for his words, that he's going to prioritize the issue of security, then we must fish out those who are accused of complicity in this respect and deal with them. We should make sure that steps are taken, radical steps are taken, that will take away the appetite for kidnapping in this country. And for those security officials that are involved, it should be distasteful for them to even contemplate doing that. Things must happen in such a way that if you are invited to come and participate in any form of criminality in this country, you will run away. That is the kind of measure that we are calling on the federal government to take. All these pampering and, literally encouraging people to continue in this business must stop, because It's killing the country. Of course, investment cannot come. There is no investor that will come into this country in the face of all that we are going through. So this is the position of the Nigerian Bar Association. That is our call on the President and Commander-in-Chief. He must demonstrate his commitment sincerely to the people of this country in dealing with this issue of insecurity. Well, let me take the example of the Amotekun in the Southwest. In the last conference that we had, we curated a session where, under the sub-team of security, where we invited the commander from Ondo State to come to speak to us. And at that meeting, the emir of Gumi, who happened to also be the former chief judge of the High Court of FCT, was a panelist. He was thrilled by the experience in the Southwest using the Amotekun outfit, and publicly said that he would want to take that as a template that could possibly be adopted in the northwestern states of this country. What am I saying? The effort of the state in that respect is yielding results, because the gentleman who came to speak on Amotekun said that they had completely forgotten about the issue of kidnappings and all these criminal activities that were rampant before the establishment of Amotekun. So I believe that it is the way to go, because the federal police will not appreciate the terrain where they are sent to operate, may not understand the peculiarities, the culture, the ways of life of those people who live in the particular place where he is sent to police. So whether to establish a full-fledged state police or to have a system where we would see a robust interaction, a robust work arrangement between the Nigerian police and the state outfits that are established in order to deal with this issue, it's something that we would encourage. Bottom line, we want to see criminality almost completely exterminated in our society. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Well, to you, Josam, thank you very much for that question. You see, it's difficult to even believe what is being said out there in the social media. Have you seen the agreement yourself? So what would be the basis of benchmarking what the minister has said between what was said previously and what was said subsequently by her? We haven't seen the agreement. And this is the basis for my suspicion. And that is why I insist, as one who is privileged to lead the bar, we have lawyers that we have to cater for. More than 70% of active lawyers in this country are young lawyers, below the age of 30. Like I said, and I noted in my letter to the president as well, in another 3 weeks, over 4,000 lawyers would be admitted to the bar. Last year, we had a total of over 7,000 lawyers. At the end of this year, we would have maybe another 5,000 lawyers admitted to the bar. Where is the work with the economy that we have today? Where is the work? Talk about the backlog. Even if we are to deal with this 4,000, where are you going to put them? But the minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria would go and enter into an agreement of any sort with respect to legal services without recourse to the Nigerian Bar Association? Ridiculous. Why do I even say so? And why is it that we suspect very strongly that they are only concerned about compromising this country and compromising the interest of Nigerians? We've been participating in meetings. I attended a meeting on the 5th of October last year in London with respect to this, a workshop. And I made it very clear that the Nigerian Bar Association will not accept bilateral relations with UK on legal services. We would not, because we are not yet at that place where we can sit on the table and describe ourselves as equal partners. And I said to them, I have 100, maybe 70-something thousand lawyers that are actively in practice. If you permit me, let us have an arrangement where we will send 10,000 lawyers to UK. Let them do internships in law firms and other establishments in the UK under the auspices of globalization. Open your borders. We come there, just 10,000 of our lawyers, young lawyers. They will come there, they will study, they will be trained, empower them, build their capacity. They will come back here and maybe train another 30,000. When we do that, and we see that we have come at par or somehow, close to each other in terms of the deliverables, the quality of what we would render to clients globally, then we can begin to consider this sort of bilateral relationship. But the UK would leave us. Officials of the Trade Ministry were there when I made that comment. I personally went there. Judge Etomi, that we have nominated as a representative of the NBA to continue with this engagement, because this engagement did not just start yesterday. How come they suddenly came to Nigeria and would not even invite us to the meeting? Wasn't the minister briefed that NBA was there? I can publish the agenda, the list of those who attended that meeting. My name was there. My name was given at the gate at, what is the name of this building? FCDO. What is FCDO? Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office on King Charles Road in London. I went there, we had a meeting, and I said this. And suddenly in February of the following year, less than 5 months, you came to my country and entered into an agreement, and the minister is saying, oh, we didn't. Have you read what was sent out as the retraction? The minister simply doubled down on what she said previously, because there was reference that there was painstaking whatever that happened before they came to agreement, including legal services. What does the minister know about legal service? What does the minister know about legal service? Are we not the ones that are statutory, the NBA statutory recognized as the umbrella body for all members of the bar called to practice as barristers and solicitors of the Supreme Court of Nigeria? And we were not in that meeting, and you want me to believe that there was a retraction? I've not even seen the agreement. So how do I know that what was said earlier and subsequently don't agree? I don't have any basis to benchmark that information. And that is why we insist. The fact that we were excluded in this meeting and they surreptitiously came to sign that agreement, we will fight it. We will fight it. We have the responsibility of protecting the legal space. Are we saying that we should ignore or we should not be, we should not acknowledge or recognize the impact or the reality of globalization that has been trusted on us? No. But we have to be ready. We have to be ready to do that. There are already practices, unwholesome practices by some few lawyers in this country who would come back to Nigeria and set up offices for English firms and continue to practice because they've been called to practice in Nigeria, but they are servicing the interests of the English firm. That is completely unacceptable. And you know what? I come from the village. I know what it means for that lawyer in the village who is struggling to make a living to still have competitors from the UK come and take over the little that he has. No, it is absolutely wrong. It is unacceptable. It is unacceptable. Only few of us, and I'm not saying that we don't have lawyers that are good enough to match the English lawyers anywhere in the world. No, that is not what we are saying. But how many of us, maybe only 1% of the lawyers called to this country that are privileged, how many of us can actually pick their bags and go to London today and say they want to practice law? How many of us can do that? A few of us. I have sat in rooms in London on transactions where I have found and seen Nigerian lawyers advise their clients even on the application of English law. Nigerian lawyers. So I'm not saying that we do not have Nigerian lawyers who would match English lawyers. No. But how many of us? It is the proportion that matters. If we have only 1,000 lawyers who do that in Nigeria, what is that proportion to now over 150,000 lawyers that we have? Already they come here, and the provisions of the Legal Practitioners Act is very clear. Section 2 is very clear. You cannot do anything that is defined as legal service, even coming here to render advice, to do any action or to do any practice that is related to the use of legal skill is prohibited until you are admitted as a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria. So ab initio, that agreement is illegal. And that's why a minister who does not understand these things would require the counsel of those that are privileged to have the custody or that are custodian of the legal profession in the country. There is a law that says you can't do something. You went to put your hand on it and you are gleefully celebrating it. All of it is excruciatingly painful that something like this would happen. Under our watch, we would not let that happen. We would not let that succeed. Those who went ahead of us made provision for this profession to be protected, for us to come and have a place to practice. There is one thing we owe those who are coming behind us, is to protect the profession, is to protect the legal space without ignoring the realities of globalization. So we just have to deploy strategy, we just have to deploy tact. We will certainly not just go into layback. So thank you very much for that question. I have my suspicion. Nobody has allayed those suspicions and would continue to act, even if it is true. We will seek judicial interpretation of the propriety of that action by way of a declaration, and we are entitled to do that. So this is a matter that would go to court. There is no doubt about it. By the time you begin to hear this, then it means they have done their own calculations, and we can't be naive about these things anymore. We cannot. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
That happened in Ibadan. That is something that speaks to the fundamental failure in our security architecture. You are piling explosives in a residential area, whether you are a Malian or a Nigerian citizen. How? Has any one of you visited that place? I have not yet done that, but I will. But craters and explosion, people that have worked their entire lives, saved money from their meager earnings, pension and gratuities, built houses, have lost their houses today. And have we found the person who has perpetrated that? We are still being told, so how? Something is fundamentally wrong. You bring explosives, not just in residential area, any part of the country at all, and we are not aware. It has caused damage to the Nigerian people. Something is fundamentally wrong, and that is why it will only take a radical approach as a matter of emergency to deal with these issues. And that is what we stand for. That is what we have demanded of Mr. President. And I want to say that, overwhelming as this situation may seem, we have what it takes to deal with it. I said it in my first of January message to the nation that I believe, and I know it is true, that potentially Nigeria remains the biggest and the greatest nation on the face of the earth, potentially. But for us to get out of this situation, the potentialities of Nigeria must be translated into our experience before we can have tranquility, we can have peace, we can have economic growth and prosperity in the country. We need purposeful leadership to drive us to that point. So don't tell me we don't have the resources to deal with these issues. We do. It is about the judicious use of our resources and our potentials. That is what we lack in this country. If any of you has traveled outside of this country, tell me one thing you have seen in Heathrow Airport or Charles de Gaulle Airport that we do not have in abundance as a resource in this country, as a natural resource. Tell me. But how come none of our airports is looking like that? Is it because we don't know what to do? No. Is it because we don't have the resources? No. But simply because we have not been lucky to have purposeful leadership. We are still wallowing in penury in spite of the wealth that God has blessed us with. And that is why we are not going to leave any stone unturned. We are not going to shy from anything that we need to do to call on government to take responsibility. If Lagos is now what it is today, because the president as governor laid that foundation, let us see indicators. It is possible to have indicators. There are places you go to, if you see the way the military and the policemen are kitted, the appetite to commit crime will fly from your head. But is that the case in Nigeria, where you find robbery happening just a kilometer away from where a police vehicle is being parked? Some of the police vehicles, if you see them, they cannot chase any armed robber. They cannot. So, gentlemen, and I thank you for all the questions that you have asked. We will continue this engagement. We gave the government some time to see, well, they may say that it is early for us to begin to assess them. We are not doing a complete assessment. This is our first interim assessment of what they've done, but we need to do, we need to see indications. We need to see indicators here and there. Oh, something is done. Oh, something is being done. Ah, okay, we see the military doing this. Oh, we see the police doing this. And then the tide of this criminality is being stemmed and everybody is continuing to go about doing his business. But a situation where criminality and terrorism has left the fringes of the country and is now in the center, Federal Capital Territory, no, then it means that there are lots of gaps that we need to fill and deal with. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think for the last question.
Are you talking about, because I heard you say 11 justices?
12
the 12 vacancies in the FCT High Court, in the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory. I must be honest, I haven't seen that resolution by the House of Representatives. I do not have the details. I have not seen the basis upon which that resolution is reached. We received the request as MBA for the expression of interest into for appointment to the bench of the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, and in that request, states were named as the states where vacancies are available. Now, I haven't checked whether those states shouldn't have been on the list, or some other states that are not there should have been the ones there. And honestly, I don't want to give an answer that that would not fit properly into the factual basis of what has transpired. I'm happy to give a response to that when I do my search and my inquiry in that respect. But I know that as a bar, whatever is provided in the law must be respected. That is the whole idea of the rule of law, and that is the motto of the Nigerian Bar Association, and that is what we stand for. So if there is anything that is not done in accordance with the law, then the law must take its course in that respect. But as to the factual reason why this has happened or the resolution was reached, I haven't done any inquiry. I honestly haven't even seen that inquiry. So I can come back to you. I'm sure you have my number. Before the end of the week, if there is anything that I found, I would let you know. But just know that the Nigerian Bar Association is for everything that represents the supremacy of the law, irrespective of who is involved. To that judgment, number one, you would have seen that the Nigerian Bar Association was not a party to that case. For anybody, number one, who wants to form an association that would deal with the issues of lawyer and refuses to reckon with the interest of the Nigerian Bar Association as a necessary party, number one, something is wrong. We should have been sued because the reason for the rejection of that registration was the Nigerian Bar Association. Now you go to court to challenge that decision of the Corporate Affairs Commission, and you removed MBA. Why didn't you want MBA to come and also ventilate its own position? Because I, as president, also wrote an objection to the registration of any of those names. MBA has recognition by statute. MBA is recognized in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Everyone, every single lawyer, everyone that is admitted to practice law in Nigeria as a barrister and solicitor of the Supreme Court of Nigeria is compulsorily a member of the Nigerian Bar Association. The Corporate Affairs Commission, I am aware, that is a party, has appealed that decision. The Nigerian Bar Association, because you cannot make an order that affects a person adversely when you haven't given him the opportunity to be heard. Both the parties in that suit had the duty to either tell the court that MBA is a necessary party. Call MBA, let us hear MBA. The court too, by the rules of court, is empowered in a situation like that to order for the joinder of a necessary party. That was not done. But I can assure you that the Nigerian Bar Association, because we are interested, because we are who we are by law, not by choice, by law, we will challenge that decision at the Court of Appeal because we are interested. An order cannot be made against a party adversely when you have not given that party an opportunity to be heard. And you didn't hear from us because that thing is inconsequential. It's inconsequential. It's inconsequential. It does not scratch the lowest surface of the Nigerian Bar Association. We are not perturbed by it at all. I mean, you can see the Nigerian Bar Association can only grow stronger and stronger to discharge its responsibility by virtue of that call that we have to give direction to everybody and also advance the cause of the nation. So I thank you very much, and subsequently you would get to hear what we have done in court in that respect as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. The President of this court comes to the end of a very interesting and fascinating session. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I just noticed some few I would correct and give it to you right away.
We already given the letters.
No, the letters. No, the press. This one. I will do that in less than 5 minutes.